You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Happy Monday. It's July 14th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. If you're subscribing, we appreciate that as well. If you haven't subscribed, shame on you. Subscribe as soon as possible. Like, comment, all those things. We would appreciate if you guys could do that for us as well. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us over the last 6 months. So if you're watching us live on X, we appreciate that as well. And of course, you can check out the show each and every day on the podcasting platforms. Any podcast that you like to go, any platform you get yours from, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, anything, you should be able to find Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. So go check it out there. Subscribe to those as well. So you can check out the show each and every day. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. It was a wild beginning to the weekend. Friday night's weather was interesting to say the least. It impacted some local sports here in the area, but hopefully, more importantly, everyone stayed safe. The damage in Davenport and those areas are minimal, and hopefully everyone bounces back. Mother Nature can be pretty wild. So it was a crazy Friday night around the Quad Cities. Hopefully you remain safe along the way as well. We have a great show to get to tonight. I'm excited about today's show because I think it's going to have a lot of people talking. It's something that I kind of thought about doing a few weeks ago, kind of pushed it through or maybe rushed it through a little bit over the weekend. But I took 7 experts. We'll let you know who they are in a second. And we voted on the top high school football rivalries in our area in Illinois. We're going to do the Iowa side later this week, but we just focused on the Illinois side of the river today. We had 7 experts vote on it, and it was really interesting and intriguing. We're going to unveil our top 10 high school football rivalries in the Illinois side of the river coming up in a matter of moments. Greg Armstrong from View from the West is going to join me with that. So I think it'll have a lot of people talking. I think people will agree. I think a lot of people will disagree. That's the beauty of these type of things. So a great time of year with high school football right around the corner to talk a little high school football and how do you rank rivalries? Because every rival hates each other, but how do you rank them from 10 to 1? We'll do that in just a little bit and hopefully make a few head coaches mad along the way as well. So that's coming up in a matter of moments. Also, a big weekend of high school softball and baseball on the Iowa side of the river. Mother Nature messed things up a little bit on Friday. Saturday, extremely busy. A big weekend for a lot of schools, including Davenport North. They enjoyed a walk-off winner against North Scott, a really good baseball game down at Muscatine because of the weather. Cayden Weaver, the hero for Davenport North, his walk-off 2-run single won the game for the Wildcats. He's going to join us a little bit later on in hour number 1 as well. And then in hour number 2, it was a huge weekend for professional wrestling. And if you know me, you know I love wrestling. But it was a big weekend and an important weekend for a Quad City guy. That's what we're going to talk about this weekend or today, because Seth Rollins, one of the biggest names in the industry, a Quad City native, Davenport native, injured himself on Saturday night's main event, national TV, NBC. It doesn't look good. So Don Umland will be along to talk about what his injury means to not just himself and his future moving forward, but the business in general. So Don Umland and a little wrestling talk for you wrestling dorks like myself coming up in hour number 2 as well. Let's look at some headlines before we get to today's show. And we mentioned it was a busy weekend for high school softball and baseball. Congratulations to all the teams that moved on. Sub-state play in baseball, a lot of it tonight. We'll eventually, by the end of the week, have our state brackets set for baseball and softball. We mentioned Davenport North's big victory. The biggest headline of the weekend, came on Friday night when Davenport West upset number 1 ranked Pleasant Valley 3-1 in a game that went 5 innings but didn't finish because of the weather. It's the first time since 2018 that a 16 seed has beaten, or a 6 seed, has beaten a number 1 seed. It was one of the biggest upsets, arguably, in Iowa high school baseball history. Congratulations to Davenport West. Obviously a little funky with the weather. It is interesting that in college and every other postseason, you're probably going to make sure the game gets finished. Kind of surprised they didn't figure out a way to finish that game, whether it was 2 innings the next day or whatever it would be. So I think that's a little weird. That has a lot of people talking, but take nothing away from Davenport West. Congratulations to the Falcons. And that's the beauty of baseball. Everybody's got a good pitcher. And so in that first game of the postseason, anything can happen. And that's the beauty of baseball. It's why the World Series is best of 7 and not like a Super Bowl where it's one game to win it all. Anything can happen in baseball. So congratulations to Davenport West. They'll play again tonight on the road. And a tough way to end it for Pleasant Valley, who had a fantastic season. So that has a lot of people talking. We might talk more about that and whether they should have figured out a way to finish that game later this week right here on OTA. Major League Baseball draft going on right now. Iowa's Cade Obermueller drafted in the second round yesterday, number 63 overall by the Phillies. So congratulations to him, another Iowa Hawkeye product getting drafted into the major leagues. So we wish him the best of luck. And it was a tough Saturday night for the Quad City Steamwheelers. They lost at home 58-52 to Green Bay. So they fall to 10-4 in the season. They've got some work ahead of them if they want to be playing some home games in the playoffs, and they can definitely still do that. They go on the road to Iowa this weekend, a very winnable game at Iowa, and then they have the last game at home of the season. So they got to take care of business. Still 10-4 in the season, but a setback to rival Green Bay this past weekend at the Vibrant Arena. So we'll talk more with the Wheelers on Steam Wheeler Wednesday coming up on Wednesday. So with all that said and done, I want to get to our first topic and our first guest because I'm really super excited about this. And as Greg has been on and getting ready, he's been changing his background because he's in his wife's office. So he's moved like 10 times. I like the background. It looks good.
Yeah, I had to get a little creative here. As I said, the home studio for the podcast is also my wife's office. So we got it situated. We're good.
More importantly, it's your wife's office. It's your wife's office first, and then it's the podcasting
That's
studio.
what I mean.
Absolutely. Okay, so Greg and I talked about this idea probably on the air a couple weeks ago about doing a rankings. And Scott Doctorman, full disclosure, did one for The Athletic for the top 100 college football rivalries. It's outstanding. It's got everybody talking, really well researched and well done. And it had me thinking we should do the same for Illinois rivalries on the high school football field. So we kind of fast tracked it a little bit over the weekend, a great talking point to do on a Monday show. And so I reached out to Greg and we kind of rallied the troops, and we had 7 people vote, Greg. Yourself, myself, Mitch Stormer, the glorious co-host, who I'm really disappointed he didn't join us. I thought it was going to be his debut on OTA. I was really excited, and then he I guess beauty sleep is more important.
You've been begging and inviting him out over and over again, and he just continues to say no.
Well, I think it was the agent got involved and he wanted more money, and like my budget isn't big enough yet, but maybe a few more sponsors I'll be big enough during the football season to afford them. But so me, you, Mitch, the legend Dan Pearson voted in this. John Marks, who's a legend in his own mind, voted in on this. I'm trying to think who else. Nick Bull also voted on this, and for some reason, I let Brian Stocking vote on this thing. Fount of knowledge, has a lot of stats that I needed. I don't know if I agreed with his top 10 at all, but we let Stockpile vote as well.
Well, we will get into it down the way. But voting surprised me a little. Unexpectedly, it surprised me. I kind of think I know Brian Stocking and the way he thinks about these things. He's a historian, right? So without getting too far into it, his list surprised me for some reasons. We'll talk about it down the road.
Yeah, so I want to find out how you tackled this, because I took the Scott Docterman approach that he took with college football, where every rival hates each other. So like, you're going to go to any district and you're going to say, hey, you hate your rival. And I get that you don't like him. There's rivalries are rivalries, but like, it has to have some significance as well, historically, and importance of games and relevance. Like, a rivalry is not a rivalry if, like we joked, I think last time, like the score kicked the highlight zone's butt. It wasn't a rivalry because like we won all the time. So you got to be competitive both ways. And I joke. Well, I don't. There's different eras. We'll get into that later. But with that being said, it has to have like some. It's got to be a good rivalry. It can't be one-sided. So that's the way I looked at it. I wanted to look at a historical background to it. Recency bias was something I worried about. But with that being said, high school football's changed. Conferences has changed. So like the way things recently go will have to weigh in as well. How did you approach the task of, I think I gave 25 rivalries, something like that, and we narrowed it down to 10?
Yeah, so I tried to balance historic rivalries that have been played a long time, but then also because of conference shifting, maybe some newer rivalries that have formed because teams are playing competitive football, battling for the top of their conference, where it ended up in their conference situation. I thought that in high school, I think it has to be, not have to be, but I looked more significantly at conference opponents that are rivals. I think that's someplace you got to start. And also proximity, right? Most of these rivalries are going to be nearby high schools, because I think that's where kids know each other. They play each other in every sport, not just one or two. So that adds to the rivalry a little bit, and then football becomes the main event. I also started thinking about, there's just some games more often than not, then when it's on the schedule, you have it circled and this feels different than other games do. This is a big deal because they're both good, because they both, rivals go back and forth. So does that make sense? That's there's a combination of things that all kind of play into where my list went.
No, absolutely. And it's hard to do. And you're going to get, and that's what I like kind of in a way, is you're going to get cranky coaches and cranky fan bases that are going to, how dare you? Because in their mind on a Friday night, Greg, that's the biggest thing going on. And like when that rivalry comes about, like that's the biggest thing. So it's hard. The fan is short for fanatic, and I get why. So like everyone's crazy or fanatical about that rivalry. What I'm surprised about, and I'll let people know. So in general, so people know, we looked at the Western Big Six, the LTC or the old LTC, the Olympic rival conference was in that as well, the Three Rivers, and now or traditional Three Rivers schools. That's kind of the area we're looking at right now. We're not getting too far.
I will say for. Go ahead.
No, for anybody that watches View from the West or listens to View from the West, some of those great rivalries, especially up north, aren't involved in this one. We're kind of keeping it Quad City based, if that makes any sense.
So I will say, for some of our listeners, A View from the West, the NUIC, the Northwest Upstate Illini teams get kind of squeezed out of this conversation because we kind of focus more on the Quad Cities area. So the NUIC gets more up towards the Rockford coverage, for newspaper, Rockford television coverage. So we kept more local, which I will say then that kind of leaves kind of that middle ground of like Galena, we do cover on this, in the Queens area. Bill gets covered in this side of the state or in our area. But then a lot of the other Galena, Winslow, Forreston, that's a huge rivalry that gets left out because that's more Rockford based. So, just to kind of explain where we're at here, that one didn't get forgotten. It just kind of it's more of a Rockford area.
That's Greg covering his butt because he's going to get people on the View from the West, which I totally get.
Really good football up there, and
if you add all that kind of stuff in, this thing changes probably completely, which is interesting. But I will say this, and I was surprised, 7 voters and 21 rivalries received a vote, which I thought was crazy. Like I remember I did the first 2 ballots. and we're already at like 16 rivalries. And I'll say this, only only 3 rivalries got a vote from everyone. That can't be right. Yeah, it is. Only 3 rivalries were unanimous among the 7 that should have been on the list. So that's what I thought was kind of cool. I liked the final 10. I thought if I'm grading, mine was really, really good. Yours was good. Stockpile would have gotten an F. Like just an awful. But I'll talk more with Stockpile about that later.
It wasn't that bad, but we'll talk about it.
It was one glaring omission that he put at 10, but we'll get into that when we get going. So, anyways, we're gonna count this down 10-1. Top 10 rivalries for high school football in our area in Illinois, and coming in at number 10 with, I don't even tell you how many votes there was along it as well, with 11 total votes, and it's scaled out, was Galena Stockton. And so that's one of those, it's up to the north. They've played over 125 times. The first matchup was back in 1908. This is one that is historically based as well. But Greg, in my time at WQAD, I covered Galena in state championship games. I covered Stockton in state championship games. So 2 powerhouse programs that have played 125 times.
Yeah, when you go back through the 70s, 80s, 90s, it was hard to find. It would be nearly impossible to find better small school football programs, not just in our area, but around the state. Those schools were winning state championships. They were playing at a high level every year, and they're within about a 25-ish minute drive from each other. So again, that proximity, right? Like long history of playing each other. They're close proximity. They've been in the same conference as it's molded and shifted over the years. So this one is a great one to add to the list. Actually, what's funny is when it got put on the list, Mitch was one who advocated to make sure it's on here, and I completely agree. I actually last playoff season started my Saturday afternoon in Galena for Galena versus Mark games there for the first half, left about halftime, drove to Stockton to cover the second half of Lena Winslow and Stockton. So I've made that trip between both schools just this past year, so it's awesome. And you probably remember, maybe you don't. You didn't travel as far here, in your recent years. If you've been to Stockton on a Saturday afternoon for a playoff game, it's fantastic. That is a great place to watch a football game, and not just Saturdays, any night. You catch Galena Stockton there on a Friday night in Stockton, it's great. So great one to add to the list for sure.
Absolutely. And you're right. I've never been to Stockton for a game. The video has seemed amazing. It's seemed beautiful.
That is a huge red flex on your resume for Mitch Stormer. He is not going to like to hear that.
Well, just another on the many, many checkpoints against me when it comes to me and Mitch. So number 10 is Galena and Stockton. Number 9 is our first trip to the Western Big Six. And this is one that I think is going to get people a little bit cranky. Number 9 is United Township and Moline. And I'll just say first and foremost, this is an awesome rivalry when it comes to all sports. I have several coaches at UT that refer to Moline as the school down the road and vice versa. So there's no love loss. I get it. I had it in my ballot. I don't know exactly where I had it. I think I had it a little higher than 9, a little bit higher. But my biggest issue with it, it's a great rivalry and it's heated and they don't like each other. But until recently, it's just been one-sided. United Township football for so long wasn't very competitive. Mike Tracy went there for several years, 3 years, and had it competitive. And then Coach Welch has done an amazing job. This is me kissing up to Coach Welch because I'm sure I'm going to get a text message from him. But if we redo this in 5 years, I think this rivalry goes up the list. But when it comes to big games, the big games just aren't there in this rivalry. Your thoughts? Yeah,
when you're looking historically, this game doesn't quite have the history behind it. What I will say, and kind of echoing, your thoughts there, I love that Nick Welch and Mike Morrissey kind of breathe life into this rivalry, right? They play into it and they play it up. And I think that helps, right? That adds that spark that I think was needed for this game, because for a long time it was a close game. They were nearby schools, they were rivals, but it just was what it was. I think now you've seen the coaches buy in that it means something. The players know that it means something. So you're right. I hope in 4 or 5 years down the road, this is a game that we say, absolutely, it's on, like, no doubt it's on the list, and it moves up higher on the list potentially. So yes, I would agree.
Well, I think the big thing now is they got a couple pretty boys as the face of the programs. You got the handsome Mike Morrissey and the handsome Nick Welch. I mean, everybody loves those two guys. So I think that's the big thing is they got a makeover when it comes to their coaches, and that'll help when it goes. So Moline UT is at number 9. That's the first trip to the Western Big Six. At number 8, we have Anawan, Wethersfield, and Stark County. And it's one of those rivalries, Greg, where I can think back to my time at WQAD and the road to the LTC. I mean, obviously Mercer County had something to say as well, but these are two schools that year in and year out, you circled that game on your calendar as like, this is going to be a big game. This is going to mean a lot for a conference championship. Yeah,
so 2 years ago, I was at the game when I think going in, you could see that Anna Weathers favorite. It was only in week 2, so it was early in the season. We didn't know a whole lot yet about either team, but in that game we learned a lot about it. It was at Anawan Wethersfield. Stark County comes away with a 1-point win. They made a big defensive stop, or a stop on a 2-point conversion late in the game to hold on to a win. And I think that this past year they also won a game. So let's see, Stockings notes. They also past year by 1 point. So in the last 2 meetings, I think this rivalry really up to a new 2, because both teams have been playoff teams playing at a high level. The proximity, being nearby teams, the 10s have been great, like you said. You could Stark County and Mercer County or Aledo was also really good for a while in there. Or you could also say Mercer County and Anawan Wethersfield was a good rivalry for a little while in there. So those 3 kind of all shifted around. But I think this is the one moving forward with their proximity. I think that kind of pushes it over the edge. We'll talk about Mercer County in a little bit. They have another rivalry that certainly is deserving of the list. But this is a good one. I've been at it. I've walked the sidelines for this one personally. It's loud. It's a great small school atmosphere, great small school rivalry for sure.
I'm assuming it's really good. I don't know if I've been to games at both places. I don't know if I've ever seen them play head to head, but 8-7 overall series. So only played 15 times. And that's the balancing act between the history of stuff and the recency of like really big games recently and really competitive 8-7, flip a coin who wins it back and forth. I think that's what makes it really cool.
And I'm guessing part of that reason for the short, the shorter series is because before it would have been Stark County playing Anawan and Stark County playing Wethersfield.
Yep.
So
no, absolutely.
Also, another great rivalry when it was Anawan versus Wethersfield. Yes. I've been at one of those games too. Those are fun.
Yes, and actually had John Marks brought that up. He's like Anawan Wethersfield, but it doesn't exist anymore. But we had a rivalry that went away that has now come back. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. So number 10, Galena and Stockton. Number 9 was Moline UT. Number 8 was Anawan, Wethersfield, and Stark County. Number 7 on our list of top 10 rivalries in the Illinois Quad Cities football-wise is Alleman and Rock Island. We go back to the Western Big Six for the Battle of Rock Island. And when you look at this rivalry, I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but I thought it could have been much higher. Like, I thought it could have been a top 5 rivalry, and I get it. I know people are sitting here yelling at this going, Alleman didn't even have a varsity team the last 2 years. How is this a rivalry? Well, you can't discredit what's happened in the past. And for so long, you look at this rivalry, Stockpile has the notes. Rock Island leads it 39-29-1. There was one tie. From 2005 to 2009, 4 of the 5 games were decided by a touchdown or less. I think there was an area starting in 1980, the Pioneers began to make the turn in the rivalry. From 1980 to 1991, Alleman was 11-1 in the rivalry. And then you went through the Vic Bobbitt years. I mean, you can go through so many years where I remember growing up, it's like Rocky and Alleman. One of the two are going to win the Western Big Six. And Moline could be thrown in there as well. So I think historically it's a fantastic rivalry. There's a city around it. Obviously, it's the Battle of Rock Island. I remember going to Alleman and some of the slogans that we had that we can't say probably. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But neither team liked each other, obviously, and neither school liked each other. So I think with the historical stuff, I tell you what, if Alleman was the Alleman of old, I think this one's up there a little bit higher. I think what's happened the last, 3 to 5 years at Alleman probably tarnished this one down the way a little bit, but it comes in at number 7. Your thoughts?
I will admit that had you not brought it up when we were talking about this yesterday, it probably would have fell off my list. It would have been close, but it probably would have been an honorable mention. It would have fell off my list. But when we really talk about the history of it, I think it is really important to keep this game on the list. We'll talk about with with some of the voting, but I think in this case you have to overlook that because what's relevant in a is there's ebbs and flows, right? You saw Alleman with the huge run in the 80s. You saw Rock Island come back, and we'll talk about some other rivalries down the way that have had very similar trajectory, where one team seems dominant for a long time and you think this game is a rivalry, team wins all the time. It's like, just pump the brakes. Like, we can't get so sucked up into even 5 to 10 years. You got to look big picture at these things. This game has to be on the list. I have been to 1 or 2 Rock Island Alleman games, and the one I went to came down to a game-winning field goal. And I was thinking, so of course it was because it was at Browning Field. For whatever reason, they had to play at Browning Field. If Augie Fields was taken or something, I was not working with you at that point, so I was still across the river from my place of employment. So I stayed though. I stayed, got video back, a game-winning field goal. It was great. It was a weird in being at Browning Field, but it was a great rivalry Friday night.
Well, that's funny because growing up for me, that's where you would watch Rocky and Alleman. If it was an Alleman game, so basically if it was Rocky and Alleman was the home team, they played at Browning. And if Browning was being used, they played at the Soul Bowl. And then vice versa. So if Alleman was playing Moline and it was an Alleman home game, they would play at Rock Island. Like, they didn't have their home field, so or Augustana to use. So that was it's a great rivalry, Western Big Six rivalry. I have a feeling some UT Moline fans will think that rivalry should be ahead of Rocky and Alleman. I think historically, if you just get out of the last 5 years, it's a better rivalry between Rock Island and Alleman. But I can't wait to hear back from the critics on that one as well. The next one, number 6, is one that I'll be honest, I didn't even look at that much at the very beginning. And then because it is a little more recent, but you've got at number 6, you've got Newman and Rock Ridge, and they become really good rivals. Every time these two teams play, it means an awful lot. They've had some really, really good games. When you look at, I'm trying to look at Stockpile's notes, and I can't find them on Stockpile's notes. But it's one of those games. Newman, go ahead.
Newman is 8-4 in the. So again, this is not a long time old classic rivalry because Rockridge joined the Three Rivers more recently, but it has become kind of marquee matchups in the Three Rivers for sure.
No, absolutely. And like you mentioned, I want to say somebody said they're now. No, I think that's Princeton Rockridge. There was one of them in which they're now
in the same division.
Newman and Rockridge. Are Newman and Rockridge now in the same division? So I think that's going to make it an even bigger rivalry as we move forward and all those kind of things as well. So Newman and Rockridge comes in at number 6, and that's kind of, Greg, kind of the newer rivalry when it comes to Rockridge. Number 5 is the older rivalry when it comes to Rockridge, and it's Rockridge versus Aledo, Mercer County. And that comes in at number 5. At number 5 is Rock Ridge versus Aledo or Mercer County. Obviously, they had so many huge games back in the Olympic Conference days. Heck, they played for a state championship back in the day. The rivalry went away, but it's back now. Both teams now in the Three Rivers. So both teams able to play every year, which is something that is much needed. But an old school rivalry checks in at number 5. Your thoughts on where Rock Ridge and Aledo/Mercer County lands?
We talked a lot about it last year. I know that Ty Taylor, WRMJ were thrilled, right? This is a game that should have been played every year for years and years and years because it's a natural rivalry. They're so close to each other. They're around the same size, both usually very good football programs. And because of conference shifting, it went away for quite a while, and it's back now, and that's great. As Nick Bull, he may be a little biased because he's an Aledo graduate, and now he lives in the Rock Ridge area, so he's very familiar with this rivalry. As pointed out, tell me another rivalry on this list that is played against each other in a state championship game.
Yeah.
That no one else can claim that. 1998, Aledo defeated Rock Ridge in the state championship game 25-16. That was after the regular season where Rock Ridge won handily. I need to find the score off the top of my head, but it was a blowout victory for Rock Ridge in the regular season. Aledo comes back and wins the state championship game. I believe it was Cully Welter's first year. So the whole thing, I wish I would have been living in this area when that game happened, because that's huge. And also, hey, let's get out of bracketing 1 through 16 and let's make this possible again, right? So we don't have to seed half the state and the other half of the state. Just put them all 1 through 32 and make this rivalry happen again in the state championship game.
Yeah, because you look at it, it should be the best 2 teams playing for a state championship, not the best team in one half playing the best team in the other half. So completely agree with that. Gives Greg a chance to do a little rant here on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. on a Monday in the Quad Cities, once again, Greg Armstrong from Few from the West joining me right now. We have ranked the top 10 high school football rivalries in the state of Illinois in our area. We're working our way through it from 10 to number 1. We're through to 5 and on to number 4. Again, 7 experts voted on this. Myself, Greg, Nick Bull, Dan Pearson, John Marks, Mitch Stormer, and Brian Stocking. We're the 3. We're the 7.
Hey,
God bless.
But he brought he had some bits and some good notes here, some stats and some all-time numbers. So he brought the good.
You have to take the good with the bad with Stockpile. And he always has, we talk with Pearson, there's Stockpile gold and there's fool's gold. And there's always there's always that pluses, but then you just got to deal with the stockpilisms, if you will. And there was a few of them we'll get to that I just didn't agree with, but that's okay.
I have noticed that as you try to read the numbers and the stats he put in here on these rivalries, you have to figure out how to say it, so it makes sense.
Yes, because he's I always joke Stockpile's biggest thing is Rock Island has won 10 of their last 10 games when they've scored more points than their opponents. Some of them are just obvious, where it's well, no, you got to make sure that's worth the mention or not. So, okay, on to number 4 before we make fun of Stockpile too much. One of my favorite rivalries, and this is one that popped in my head right away. I think it's appropriately ranked at number 4. Could have been a little bit higher, and I wouldn't have had any problem with it at all. It's the battle for the wooden shoe between Morrison and Fulton. And of course, our Morrison homer, Mitch Stormer, had all the details. The battle of the wooden shoe, traveling trophy featured the wooden shoe. The rivalry is rooted in the Dutch history for both communities. The first game playing for the wooden shoe was back in 1977. The rivalry dates back to the early 1900s. I don't think we have an exact. I think Stockpile probably had the exact rivalry. Yeah, Morrison leads the rivalry.
It says.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Yep. 56-31-5. Morrison, the all-time lead. When playing for the shoe, 28-17 Morrison leading, And the two teams have met 4 times in the postseason, which I think is an important thing. And they've split those 4 meetings. The wooden shoe, Greg. I know you love the wooden shoe. When we worked together, we had to get the opening shot of said wooden shoe. It's a great rivalry. I love it. The fact that it's on here. Number 4 is a good place for it to be.
This is a good time to make a plea to all high school athletic directors, all head coaches. If you have a rivalry that you take in, find a way to make a trophy. Make a trophy happen. It's been my plea every year, every season on our podcast, like more rivalry games with trophies. Like that's what we love about college football, right? And some of them get pretty obscure and it's like, wait, they play for a trophy? But it's fine if they take pride in it, if it's a big deal to them. I just think it adds that extra element, and that's what the Wooden Shoe Bowl does so great, is that it's a different trophy. It's not your traditional football trophy, but it's meaning to those communities, right? And man, I wish we had Mitch on here because he is I believe a 2-time Wooden Shoe winner. So he is very proud of his Wooden Shoe, history. But it's a rivalry. Again, it has the history, it has the proximity, and it has usually they have been always when they play, and it goes back and forth. And again, it's the ebbs and flows, right? Just because Morrison dominates for a few years, you flip the script, and then Fulton was dominating for a few years, and now they're kind of back on even footing. So I think that's what makes a great rivalry, is it plays out and you see it kind of go, through that back and forth. This one's great. It means a lot. It always brings a big crowd. Game that it just feels different when you're there. You know it on the schedule. You see it. I'm really glad they both ended up in the Northwest upstate Illini after they had been in the Three Rivers for so long, to be able to be together. Because, man, it was heartbreaking when they were going to switch conferences when Fulton left at first. And you thought, man, like, if Morrison doesn't find a way to make that move, like, this is a natural rivalry that's gone, like it was with Mercer County and Rock Ridge. So the stars of the line playing each other. Mercer County and Rock Ridge are back playing each other. I love it. It's great for the area.
No, I completely agree. So number 4, Morrison and Fulton come on the list at number 4. We're down to our last 3, and I think these 3 stood out to me the most when I looked at stuff. Number 3 coming in is a school, or a rivalry, I should say, that got a vote. These last 3 got votes from everybody. So they were on everybody's ballot, which is crazy that, somebody left Morrison and Fulton off their ballot. I won't call anybody out here, but you let old people vote. No, I'm just kidding. So coming in at number 3, Geneseo and Sterling at number 3. Real close to 2. A really good matchup. Geneseo and Sterling. It just transcends conferences, which I think is cool as well. From the Western Big Six now back to the NCIC, and even like in between, wasn't it like the NIB 12 or something like that in between the two? So
look at you knowing your conference shuffling history.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. So Geneseo Sterling, Greg, talk about the rivalry. Why is it at number 3?
I love this rivalry. I think this rivalry means a lot to me because I feel like as I was kind of like becoming a sport reporter with WQAD and kind of getting out there to more games and covering more sports, this was a rivalry that was kind of growing. Both programs were playing at a really high level as I was covering them. And for a long time, again, the ebbs and flows rivalries, Geneseo and controlling this rivalry. I remember talking to, friends of mine that are around grew up in Sterling. And it was like every year, throughout the late 90s, early 2000s, they'd have a pretty good team in Sterling, but man, then Geneseo. And they couldn't buy Geneseo. And fast forward then to 2015, and it was Sterling who had a good team, and they're playing, Sterling was playing Geneseo that year at home. And I remember thinking, like, Sterling, good program right now. They're playing really well, but this feels like you got to get this one. You got to get this win over Geneseo to really launch to the next level. and they win that game 17-14. It's now kind of a part of like View from the West history, because that's the pregame speech where Schlemmer says it's big time football, and I know we can play big time football tonight. We got to go out and that's the quote from his speech against Geneseo. And I thought it was awesome, because that was the message, and we all knew it, right? Media, those players and coaches knew it. They have to prove it against Geneseo. So I think, to me, that was a huge night in that rivalry. And now to where Sterling is now controlling the rivalry. So, we caught some different, we've heard things on social media the last about how can you still call this a rivalry? Sterling wins every year. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. It wasn't always that way, and it may not always be that way. Mm-hmm. So I think you can't get so much living in the moment. You got to appreciate long term. This is a really good battle.
Yeah, and you look at it too. You mentioned 35-23 all time to Sterling, but heck, it's even to a point now. What was it, like 2 or 3 years ago? It was Geneseo's special season. They had the special AJ Weller and those seniors, and Larry Johnson's son, and they were having a fantastic season, and Sterling was supposed to be down. It's cute when we say Sterling's going to be down, because they're always good, and Sterling went in there and beat him. So it's been a really good rivalry, and like I said, I love the fact that it transcends just the Western Big Six. It goes back. There's history to it as well. Somebody said on here, and I think it was Mitch. Mitch has it that the first game was played back in 1916. So I think that's really cool as well. They might have a differing. Mitch has it 36-23, and I think Stockpile has it 35-23. So I'm going to go with Mitch.
Okay.
Just because I like to give Stockpile a hard time.
I want a whole podcast where they battle it out on their numbers and see who wins.
I love it. So number 3, Geneseo and Sterling. So we're down to our final 2. We'll recap them. Number 10 was Galena and Stockton. Number 9, Moline UT. Number 8, Anawan Weathersfield Stark County. Number 7, Battle of Rock Island, Alleman and Rock Island. Number 6, Newman and Rock Ridge. Number 5, Rock Ridge and Aledo/Mercer County. Number 4, the Wooden Shoe, Morrison and Fulton. Number 3, Geneseo and Sterling. Our number 2 rivalry game is one that's been played forever. It did receive 3 of the 7 first place votes, including a first place vote from Greg Armstrong. Kewanee and Princeton comes in at number 2. Greg, why was that your number 1 rivalry?
For me, it's my number 1 rivalry because it kind of checks all the boxes that we've talked about. Got proximity. They're nearby. They've been conference opponents over the years. Multiple different, like you said, it's kind of transcends conferences. They've shifted conferences, and they've all met back up, and they continue to play this series. It has the history behind it. Obviously, the game has been played since 1897, which is, amazing. It has kind of the ebbs and flows. It's a pretty equal series over the years. And what pushes it over the top, it has an amazing trophy. This thing is huge, and it's got orange plates on one side and blue plates on the other side. It's got every year going back. I'm not sure how many. It might have all of them. Might have all the years listed on it. But they updating it with new updated scores. That's my game. I would say outside, maybe Morrison and Fulton or Princeton Kewanee is the rivalry on the list I've seen the most. I'm almost positive, because it became like must-see, game. And when you go back a few years ago when Princeton, they were the team to beat in the Three Rivers, and Kewanee was good. They're playing well, and they beat them at home. Place was electric. It was about week 5 of the season, and it was a win for, at the time, Coach Brad Swanson and his Kewanee Boilermakers. Remember, they had a block punt at one point, and Coach Swanson running down the sidelines, pumping his fist, turning around and banging a helmet. Kids are going crazy. Kewanee's going crazy. That's it, right? That moment, that electricity is so real, and so this raw emotion coming out for a game that it means a lot to everybody. It means a lot to the players, the fans, the parents, coaches, athletic departments. So that's to me, that's number one.
No, I completely agree. I had that as number 2 on my rivalry, but I completely agree. When you go back to how far they played, and you're right, the traveling trophy is awesome. Like that adds a little bit to it. And like you mentioned, yeah, it seems like I think Princeton, Stockpile had down here 9-3 since the series resumed. They've won 3 straight. So Princeton maybe the better end of it. But look at that game. I remember talking to Coach Swanson live on the Score after that game, and like he did a talk back with us, and he was fired up. I mean, it means more.
Yeah.
Princeton leads the overall series 66-57-4. So when you play that amount of times, and it comes down to 66, 57, and 4. That's very, very good. Of course, Stockpile has on here, they've met on Thanksgiving and on Veterans Day. So right there, those are 2 things you can't take away from them. So Kewanee and Princeton coming in at number 2 in our poll. So the time has come, Greg. The number 1 rivalry in the state of Illinois in our area when it comes to high school football is Rock Island and Moline. And when we started to talk about this, right away I was like, this is the first game that popped in my head. It's Rocky, It's Moline, it's a huge rivalry. I had some people, including Stockpile, say to me, like, it's not as big in football, and maybe it hasn't in the last couple years. But I think overall, it's a great rivalry. Rock Island, I mean, when you look at it, so I'm trying to do math in my head as we go. 126 times they've met. Rock Island, 62 wins. Moline, 59, and 5 ties. So basically, it's a 50-50 draw. It's one of the longest running rivalries in the state of Illinois. We talk about every time we preview the game. Rock Island, Moline, number 1. They got 4 first place votes out of the 7 voters. Greg, you had them at number 2, but you love the rivalry.
I do. I love this rivalry. It screams old, traditional Western Big Six to me. And that's no slight to the other rivalries we've mentioned from the Western Big Six. I remember early in my time in this area covering that game, and I wanted to get, that shot right down the line of scrimmage, put the camera around right down scrimmage. When you see that Moline M and the Rock Island, RI on the helmets with the yellow helmet and the white maroon, the colors just contrast. And I know this is kind of superficial, but it feels like a rivalry. It just looks like classic all-time rivalry. And I think knowing that, they've been up near at their best, they're playing up near the top of the conference, right? One or the other is playing up near the top of the conference. Right now, Rock Island's a little bit down, so it's been Moline controlling it, but it ebbs and flows. I think big picture, this is a game that just feels like the all-time Western Six.
No, I completely agree, Greg. And this is where my issue with Brian Stocking comes in. Because Stockpile had them ranked 10th. Had this rivalry ranked 10th on his list.
So here's getting back to what surprised me about his list is like Stocking is a historian, right? Like he's always the one look super big picture. Like we almost joke about like how far he looks back when sometimes it's not even relevant. But in this, like the all-time history should be very relevant. And his list, I felt like, was more dominated with like recency of teams that are playing now. And I get maybe everyone's own thought on what the list should be. So I respect that. But no, it does. His list had this game, Rock Island Moline, so far down the list. And then he feels like more of a football rivalry. Like that did surprise me.
No, I was surprised that he had that one so low. And I'm not going to pick on his list. I could go through and pick on it. But I think the 10 rivalries are really good. I thought the order was pretty decent as well. Is there a rivalry that stands out to you that didn't make the list? And if so, which one was it for you?
For me, another games to be on the list. I know it's getting near the fringe of what you would consider the Quad Cities coverage. Milledgeville and Polo play a game called the Battle for the Blacktop. They play for a trophy, which again, that moves it up my list. I believe Mitch and I both included it in our top 10. It's a game that I've covered myself. It's cool. Same thing in those communities because they're about fifth apart, like not very far at all. It's a straight shot to get there. And they just throughout the course of conferences shifting and things moving around, going from 11-man to 8-man, these schools have stayed linked together. And so I think it's excellent. I think it's a great rivalry. And that's one I would have included on the list.
I think the one, okay, so number 11, if you want to get into it, I think Sherrard Rock Ridge was number 11. I don't think I voted for Sherrard Rock Ridge. Maybe I did. I did at 10. But because I'm in, like, I grew up in this area. Like, I live out in the Rock Ridge School District. I worked at the Milan Hy-V in high school. So that's when I learned, like, Rock Ridge doesn't like Sherrard and Sherrard doesn't like Rock Ridge. So I think rivalry-wise, high school-wise, it probably could have been up there higher or definitely in the top 10. But again, football-wise, it hasn't been that relevant. Like Sherrard, no offense to the Tiger, other sports, but when it comes to this rivalry, the games are big and the atmosphere is great. I'm not taking anything away from the players that have played in it, the coaches that coach in it, but when it comes to competitiveness of it, it just hasn't been there. I almost wanted to put Rock Ridge and Orion on the list because I think for a while especially, and maybe recently Rock Ridge has kind of dominated, but for a while, I think Orion won 6 straight. And during some really good years with Logan Lee and those players. So I think that rivalry, the Rock Ridge Orion, could have made the list as well. They were just shy of making the top 10.
That Orion Rock Ridge was a rivalry that made my top 10. And for the reasons you just pointed out, that a few years ago, before we were thinking Rock Ridge, they were playing different conferences. In football, that kind of was a marquee matchup. Both programs are playing really good football. Proximity's there. In other sports, they're playing each other, So, like, that was a game that, I added. Didn't they play a few, like, really, like, all-time classic games? One in the playoffs, I think they even played a game that was great. So, that's a game I would have locked in the top 10 as well. But I really struggled with where does Sherrard Orion fit in? Where does Orion Rock Ridge, where does Rock Ridge Sherrard? I mean, like, those three are kind of all hard to figure out who goes in for a rivalry. Yep.
No, I completely agree with that as well. So, I mean, we had other ones on here as well. Somebody mentioned Geneseo Alaman going back in the day, and they weren't in the same conference, but they had some huge showdowns in the postseason. That would have been a good one. Now they're conference rivals as well. Shockingly, John Marks had that on his. I think Johnny had like Alaman versus everybody 1 through 6, and then no, I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. But Morrison Newman on the list as well. A really good matchup. You kind of mentioned back with the Mercer County Anawan Weathersfield. That's a really good rivalry. So there are really good rivalries that didn't make the list. But Greg, I'm not going to lie. I was a little worried because I graded Stockpile Spal at first, and I'm like, this is going to be a shit show. I mean, this is going to be bad. And then luckily, like that's why you have multiple voters. You can even it out a little bit, and it did even out the right way. I like the list. Which school are we going to hear from the most? In a negative way.
Oh man. One before that, one more. Bureau Valley and Princeton, they're really close.
Yeah.
And they played for a long time. I mean, since Bureau Valley's existed in the early 90s or in the mid 90s. And for a while, if you remember, like Bureau Valley was a dominant football. Princeton was kind of down. Well, now that's kind of flipped a little bit. And Bureau Valley's kind of climbing back up, but Princeton's been dominant. They don't play anymore. That was one that could have made the list when you start looking through. So you don't want to forget that one. Man, all right. So let's see who's going to be mad about where they were in this whole thing. Again, maybe if you look at recency bias because down, they don't get in this list with like Rock Ridge. Maybe I think it's a combination of orienting down and Rock Ridge leading that series recently, and now we have Rock Ridge Mercer County fitting that rivalry. So maybe Orion kind of a little bit on this list.
I think the two rivalries that are going to be cranky is Rock Ridge and Orion, but Rock Ridge can't complain because they're on here twice. So, and I think maybe in my mind, the Rock Ridge Newman could have been Rock Ridge Orion if we did this maybe 5 years ago, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
And so that's probably the recency biased. And then I know that UT Moline's going to get cranky because they hate each other. And I get it, and I love that about it.
They're on the list, though.
Yeah, but I think you explained that. You explained that to Nick Welch when he texted me here later on this afternoon that his biggest rivalry is 9th on the list. I can just hear him now, like Anawan, Wethersfield, Stark County. Where are those schools at? I don't even know where they're at, and you don't have us. So
that's not a fair argument. Come on now.
No, I'm just saying, I think those two schools, not just Nick, I'm picking on Nick. I love Nick. But I think those two schools, that rivalry probably holds a higher standing in their head than maybe what it is. And like I said right now, like I can't wait for that game this year. Like that's going to be a fantastic football game this year.
Yeah.
UT Moline. You're looking at big picture. So, well, this was fun. You should do one with the your entire area. My God, you could do the top 25 with the view from the west and go everything you guys go to. But I think we did pretty decent. I don't think anybody's gonna get too cranky or anything like that. I do want to talk to you real quick as well before we let you go. You killed the first hour of my show, which I love. That's outstanding.
Oh,
but
man. Wow, that went quick.
Like time flies when you're having fun. We had you on a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. We have the View from the West kickoff party. It's now going to be on August 17th. So Sunday, August 17th at the other bar. Kind of talk about it a little bit, Greg, because a live podcast on YouTube, coaches, all that kind of fun stuff. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so area coaches, area athletic directors, fans, circle your calendars. Sunday, August 17th, 5 o'clock, we'll be live at the other bar in downtown Moline. We'll have, like I said, we'll try to bring in some coaches, bring in some area experts, some people with some knowledge from around the area. Already Kyle Kampmeyer from Northwest Upstate Illini. He's coming to represent his side of the state, so we'll there. He's excited. Also, people who know the Western Big Six, who talk a lot of Western Big Six, we'll bring them in. Hoping to get Ty Taylor down from WJ. Talk a little bit. We'll have our sponsor Breedloves is really excited to partner with us on this. Maybe we'll have some merch, some giveaways, some the things to hand out when you're there. You can purchase some View from the West merch that we're working on when you're there. It'll just be a great kind of meet in person instead of doing a virtual recording. Let's meet in person. Let's kind of kick off the season again. Sunday, August 17th, 5 o'clock. And we'll say 5 to 7-ish. But if we get talking and get going, maybe it'll stretch a little bit, but it'll be a good time.
Yeah, like I joke, we don't have our producer in our ear telling us we have to be quiet. So we can go as long as we want. No weather guy with final weather, all that kind of stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. Greg, I thought the poll was like a 10. Your internet's like a 6.5 or a 7. It was good.
Is it breaking down?
It was fine. No, it was just a little glitchy. You're going to listen back. You're going to get cranky, but it's not that bad. We could hear mostly everything you said. You need to get the kids off the devices, make them go outside. I'm just kidding. As somebody who I'm lucky. It's Alaman baseball camp right now, so it's AKA Thomas Smith babysits my kids. So I don't have to deal with them right now. They're at Alabama baseball camp, but it was fantastic. I appreciate it. We'll have much more with View from the West. And of course, Greg and I are launching River Rivals Media in the next couple weeks as well. A lot to get to. High school football season right around the corner as well. So I appreciate it, and I cannot wait to deal with the people on social media. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Quick plug, View from the West, regular weekly podcast coming back this week. So Mitch and I are getting set to record a welcome back episode, and then we're rolling into our conference previews. So it's a ton of football content coming your way. We're back. It's go time. So
if you're on YouTube, go to View from the West, subscribe there as well. If you're listening to this on podcasts and you're listening to mine and you're not listening to theirs, you're not subscribed to theirs, shame on you. Subscribe to View from the West as well. An Eye on the East for the Iowa side of the river coming up in the near future as well. We'll be doing a countdown of the top Iowa high school football rivalries coming up either later this week or early next week, but very, very soon we'll be doing that as well. I need to plan it a little better because sending out ballots and doing things the way I did it yesterday was very, very hurried, but I think we survived. So that's the beauty part. Greg, yep. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right. Greg Armstrong, View from the West. That is our top 10 rivalries on the Illinois side of the river when it comes to high school football. Number 1, Rock Island Moline. Number 2, Kewanee Princeton. Number 3, Geneseo Sterling. Number 4 was Morrison Fulton. Number 5, Rock Ridge, Mercer County / Aledo. Number 6, a newer one, Newman and Rock Ridge. Number 7, Alleman and Rock Island, the Battle of Rock Island. Number 8, Anawan, Weathersfield and Stark County. Number 9, Moline and UT. And then number 10, Galena and Stockton. They've been playing since about 1900. So a really good long-running rivalry up in Galena between Galena and Stockton. We got more to get to. Coming up next, we mentioned it was a great weekend of high school baseball. Cayden Weaver from North joins us after his walk-off winner against North Scott to propel them into tonight's game up in Cedar Falls. That and much more straight ahead. You're watching Off the Air on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need Mobile Party Experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile Party Experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your Mobile Party Experience today. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. It's the middle of July, which means high school-wise, there's only one thing going on, and it's baseball and softball on the Iowa side of the river. And it was an exciting postseason weekend of baseball, a wild one because of the weather and everything else, but some really fun finishes as well, including for Davenport North, where the Wildcats are moving on thanks to the young man that joins me right now. Cayden Weaver joins me. North beating North Scott in a really fun high school postseason baseball game down at Muscatine on Saturday. And Cayden Weaver, senior at North, was a big reason why. A walk-off two-run hit in the bottom of the seventh inning. Cayden, first and foremost, congratulations. A walk-off winner in the postseason. What's the last couple days been like? Now that you're a walk-off winner, you've been a hero, haven't you?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been kind of getting a lot of praise by all the players and all the parents, which is crazy. And I've been reliving the moment over and over again. But it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, obviously a team game, a team victory, and all those kind of things. But you get to the bottom of the last at bat, bases loaded, 2 outs against an opponent that you guys know, respect, really good program. What's going through your mind? I always try to teach my kids, much different than what you're doing on your level, is to try to embrace moments like that. What was in your mind as you're heading to the dish, knowing you could be the hero, but you could also be the last out of the season, last out of your career? What's going through your mind when you head to the dish?
Well, all season our coaches have been preaching pressure is a privilege. So I walked up there and I was just thinking the entire time, like, this is what I've been playing baseball for. Like, this is what I've been looking towards my entire life. Yeah, I could, choke, make the last out of our season, or I could come up big, which is like what I've been dreaming of. And obviously that's what I did.
What happens when you hit that? Like, do you remember? People always talk about, like, it was so crazy, I don't even remember what happened. When did you realize? Because you needed 2. Was it obvious that they were going to score 2? Or when did you realize the game was over, and maybe the reaction point after that?
Well, we had Christian Shorter on second base, and he's fast. So right as I hit it, I immediately knew. On the video, you can see me wave my hand up right as I hit it because I knew we won. But I was jumping around the bases. Everybody comes towards me, dog piles me. And then when I'm at the bottom of that dog pile, I kind of like black out. I'm like, there's no way that just happened. And then we get up and we all celebrate. And yeah.
It's been that type of season for you guys. A really good run in the MAC. I know last couple weeks were really important. Rivalry games with Davenport Central, swept them, swept West as well. And it's been a good career. It's a really good program. And I know last year you guys fell short of that ultimate goal of what you guys wanted to get to. What's this year been like? And I know that this was fun. There's more to be done, but it seems like a special group over there, doesn't it?
Yeah, last year we were special, and then this year with our 11 seniors coming in, we knew we were going to have like a good, solid team. And so this year we've just been trying to battle it out. We've lost some games that all of us think we definitely should have won. But we know that if we play our best baseball, we can be one of the best teams in the state. So we're just going to keep grinding and try and make it.
You look at, and one thing that I thought it was cool when I saw you do what you did is I got to call a doubleheader for you guys again, for MediaCom MC22 a couple weeks ago. And I love the way you play the game. I love this. You play second base and you do it so well. Easy plays, hard plays, those kind of things. Play the game right. And then, oh, by the way, you get some hits. And then, oh, by the way, you come in and you save game one. You just did a little bit of everything. Talk about that because, I think you pride yourself in being able to help the team no matter how they ask. Kind of talk about how that role developed, and I know it's something you probably take great pride in.
Yeah, I grew up always playing shortstop for younger teams, and then so I came to this team, and obviously we have the amazing Bryce Pauly at short. So I got moved on to second, and I tried to take that same playing style over to second, and then I just try and help the team in whatever way I can. This year might not have been my best year at the plate, but I've been trying to take that and take a step up on the mound and in the field to really help my team as much as possible.
Absolutely. And now here you are getting ready for some big games tonight. You mentioned Bryce Pauly. I think a junior, so still has some baseball left to be played, but obviously a Indiana commit, somebody that has all the talent. What's it like playing? And several players on that team, but I want to talk about Bryce. I got to watch him firsthand. I think there's a home run that he hit against Central that may not have landed yet. What's it like playing with that guy and just seeing his talent each and every day?
Yeah, playing with him and Brandon both, who just have the most talent I've ever seen firsthand, is amazing. Get to practice with them every day. I get to try and grow and learn stuff from them. And it's awesome just having guys like that where you can look at and be like, oh, that's what I should be doing, and that's who I could be every day, and it's awesome.
No, it's awesome to hear. The beauty part of postseason baseball is you can enjoy it for a little while. You can watch the videos as much as you can, and then you got to get ready for another game. I'm a big believer in momentum, and a game like that can propel to a special postseason, not putting cart ahead of horse. How quickly have you guys had to refocus? Saturday night was crazy. It came off a delayed game on Friday, I believe, so you're playing on Saturday, so shorter time between Saturday and Monday. How have you guys refocused? Because you guys hit the bus here this afternoon and you go play another big game.
Yeah, at practice yesterday, our coaches were telling us, yesterday, yeah, we can take the good stuff from it, but we got to leave it behind us and we got to refocus for this new matchup that we have, obviously, tonight. And so yesterday at practice, just dialing it all in, making sure we're ready to play our best baseball tonight to hopefully move on.
Yeah, absolutely. You go to Cedar Falls to take on a good Cedar Falls team. What does this team need to do to be successful? I know that you can scout, you can look at what they have and all those kind of things. Is it about making sure you guys play the best Davenport North baseball that you guys can play? How do you approach tonight's game, and how do you come back with a victory so you can play again on Wednesday?
Yeah, we just got to do the same three things that we've been trying to do all year, which is just throw strikes, put the ball in play, and make the routine plays. I think if we play clean, we should come home with a victory.
Absolutely. Cayden Weaver joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. I want to talk to you a little about this team in general as well, because I think Coach Karstens has done a fantastic job. It was a good program. He's continued to have it being a very good program. I got to talk to him on the show a couple weeks ago and kind of talked about this team maybe off the field, and plenty of goofballs, plenty of people that keep things light and all those kind of things. What is this group like? Baseball players are just different, man. What is it about this team off the field, the intangibles that you enjoy that make you guys successful throughout the season?
Yeah, we've been obviously playing baseball with each other for a long time. We've been on the same travel ball team since we are probably 8 years old. And so we've all grown really close together off the baseball field, and we're all really close friends, and we all love to hang out and do obviously goofy stuff all the time. And we're all just really close, can be honest with each other, which makes us, grow together and be even better of teammates.
No, absolutely. Is it, I think baseball, and I think it's the most superstitious sport there is. So I'm going to ask you, is it a superstitious sport for you? Do you have superstitions? What's the weirdest superstition you may have, if you do have them, Kaden?
I am very superstitious. I like try and do the same things every day. Like from the moment I wake up, if say I did good one game where I did one thing, I'll try and wake up and replicate that same exact day. If I had one type of energy drink before the game and I did good, the next game I got to get that same energy drink. And so it just weird stuff, weird small stuff like that I try and do. Whether it's like the same song I listen to or anything small, I try and replicate to hopefully have the same success that I did.
What are you going to take from Saturday then to replicate a game winner against North Scott tonight up in Cedar Falls? Is there anything you've already picked and chosen?
I actually did have a different energy drink that day. And I had 2 small V8s, so that's exactly what I'm going to do, is have 2 small V8 energy drinks today and hopefully do the same thing that I did.
I love it. Cayden, before I let you go, you guys, I want to talk about the situation of the weekend because you were supposed to play on Friday, and then we got this crazy, weird, wild weather, and the city of Davenport especially got hit really bad. You guys get your game moved down to Muscatine, beautiful new complex with the field turf and all of those kind of things, and you have to shift from getting to play at home again to now having to go down to Muscatine. What was that all like, and how proud of you are you guys, because you had a lot of stuff thrown your way, including a really good baseball team in North Scott. How weird and crazy was Friday and Saturday for a bunch of high schoolers in the middle of summer trying to advance in a state tournament?
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. Obviously, it being pushed back to Saturday makes pitching a little weird. Brandon B threw 112 pitches against North Scott, so I don't think he's able to come back on Wednesday, which makes more guys have to pick it up and know that it's going to rely on them to step on the mound. And then obviously going down to Muscatine, we kind of went with the intentions that it's still our baseball field. We were the home team, and we played in Muscatine against Muscatine earlier in the year, and we did amazing. We hit the crap out of the ball. So we took that same intention. That's our baseball field. And we were just going to go out there, and it didn't matter where we were at, we were going to win.
Last one for you. I want to talk to you about maybe the game that the state of Iowa is talking about, and I want to get you in trouble because it involves a couple rivals. But for the first, I think number 1 seeds were 45-0 against in their opening round games. One of your biggest rivals, Davenport West, beats Pleasant Valley in 5 innings. When you hear that, are you happy for your rival in Davenport West? Probably know those guys pretty well. Are you more surprised? I guess your thought process and your reaction to a game that a lot of the state's talking about.
I don't know. It was crazy. We were all watching it on our phones constantly as it kept updating, and it was crazy. I'm really happy for the West guys. And then obviously you got to feel bad for the Spartans who had their season ended, but it was a crazy game. It obviously had weird circumstances of it only went either 5 or 6 innings, but that's what the regular season rule was. And West was winning after the 5th inning, and it just had to go to West.
You answered that so well. You're a senior. You could have put West on blast. You could have put PV on blast. You could have done a bunch. You are much more mature than I would have been when I was a senior in high school, to say the least. I appreciate this. This has been a ton of fun. I'm rooting for you guys. I think Coach Karstens has done a fantastic job with the program. When tonight you play again on Wednesday, where would that game be at?
That would be in Cedar Rapids against Prairie at their baseball field.
All right, so load the buses. If we need to get a job done tonight, and then maybe we'll get like Brian Stocking to get a big van or a bunch of buses, and Stockpile can drive everybody up to Cedar Rapids again on Wednesday. Hey, I wish you guys the best of luck. Keep winning, keep doing it. Keep watching the video. I get it. Keep watching the video on your phone, and hopefully we can catch up again later on with a trip to state if that works out with you.
Of course, yep. Hopefully, thank you very much. Matt.
Awesome. That is Cayden Weaver, senior at Davenport North, a walk-off winner this past weekend. Really, really cool stuff. Gotta love the boys of summer in the state of Iowa. The only thing going on right now when it comes to high school sports, Iowa State baseball and Iowa postseason softball as well. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois. This is the game we had circled when the year started. Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. It was a big and busy weekend for professional wrestling everywhere. And of course, if you watch the show over the last 6 months, you know that I love professional wrestling. And it was a big weekend for several reasons. One, because there were several shows over several promotions. And then as two, one of the most popular and famous wrestlers in the entire industry from right here in our own backyard, Davenport, Seth Rollins, was involved in a big match and unfortunately a big injury as well. So let's break it all down with our wrestling/officials expert, Don Umland, with his black and brave shirt on and of course his AEW coffee mug. It's a good Monday morning to be a professional wrestling fan. Don, before we get into the X's and O's of everything, what a weekend. The fact that so many promotions, NXT, WWE had 2 shows. AEW had, I think, a 15-hour show on Saturday or so it seemed. It's a good time. We always joke, but it's a good time to be a professional wrestling fan right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you had everything. Every promotion between WWE and AEW was on display from all week, from Raw to SmackDown to the shows over the weekend and then Raw tonight, which will be very telling as we discuss here in a second. If you're a wrestling fan, you had it all. It was great.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. I want to start with, and you could start with so many things. We're not going to get too into anything, but the biggest reason I want to chat with you today, and a lot of times we save our professional wrestling talk for the big pay-per-views, the SummerSlams, the WrestleManias, and those kind of things. But Seth Rollins from right here in Davenport, Davenport West grad. I'm very proud to be in the Quad Cities and a Quad City. And you look at your Black and Brave shirt that you have on. He's got a wrestling academy here in the Quad Cities. Lives here in the Quad Cities for at least some of the year. Seth Rollins, one of the biggest names in professional wrestling, and on Saturday night's main event on NBC in front of the entire world, he came up lame during one of his matches. And it's so funny, Don, because you never know if it's, part of the script or actual injury in reality. Came up lame. They quickly finished the match. and you could tell something was different. Seth Rollins injured, and it seems pretty serious.
And we got to watch it in live action, which, an average wrestling fan would not really know what's going on, but you could see the interaction between the referee and Seth and LA Knight holding back, and they're communicating on a mic, like, what do we do? How do we finish this? How are we going to get him out of the ring? That was pretty telling that something was wrong. And now, obviously, it's been, pretty revealed that he's going to have an MRI and most likely probably has an ACL tear. We're going to find out. Not ironically, but back in 2015, he had an ACL and MCL tear. And, here we are again when he's at the height of his career again. And we don't know what's going to happen. It's unfortunate. He's involved in like 19 storylines,
Yeah, and I want to get to where they go from here, but I want to and you mentioned I want to talk about the actual injury itself, because it's a big time match on NBC, Saturday Night's Main Event, and someone like LA Knight wins. And if that's something that's planned, and if things are going as planned, then that's a big celebration. Like, that's LA Knight in the ring, people going crazy, several shots. They talk about it, replays, all that kind of stuff. You could tell he won, and they quickly went away and they were done, and they didn't even give him his moment. I do think it was great as Seth. I don't know how it all went down, but I have read reports that he was the one who was like, they could have just said draw. They could have called off the match, those kind of things. And he got up. LA Knight delivered the what is it? BFT. And Seth took the pinfall, which I think is amazing for him, because he's always about the business or the industry or getting the next guy over if needed. I thought that was cool, but you could tell, Don, I know we exchanged text messages, a bunch of us exchanged text messages. You could tell then and there that this wasn't scripted, and that this was something that was going to maybe linger for a couple days, or now, unfortunately, maybe for some time.
Well, and I'll equate it back only because he's my favorite guy, but you remember when Triple H tore his quad in the middle of a match and finished the frickin' match? And people were amazed, like, how do you rise and do that? But, there were believers in the industry he knew something was wrong. He was F-bombing on his way out when they're carrying him out, but that's how professional they are. But it's going to lead to a lot of different things now where they're going to go.
Now, a lot of people thought that Seth would be involved later in the night, maybe a cash in. He is the Money in the Bank holder with a Gunther or a Goldberg if he happened to win. Reports say that was not planned regardless of the injury, so that wasn't. But with that being said, he is the Money in the Bank winner. He's got the new faction with Brunson Reed and Braun Breaker, and when you put Paul Heyman with anybody, you're putting a rocket ship or a rocket pack, a jet pack on their back to send them to the very top. Now, I will say this: Seth didn't need a jet pack. He was at or near the very top to begin with, but he was entering the biggest time of his career. I would always say, Don, that like Seth Rollins was doing everything he accomplished, and they hadn't really focused on him being the guy. And if they ever focused on him being the guy, man, who knows? He could be a megastar, humongous star, which he was close to already being. Just unfortunate because, as you mentioned, he's involved in so many different things. Don, they had a lot of plans for Seth Rollins for the next 6 months, year, and after that. Where do they go from here? Because a Quad Cityan now has to, take a break, get healthy before he gets back into the mix again.
I think there's 3 or 4 things where they could go. So let's just address a couple of them, and then I'll let you bounce back. Does this elevate LA Knight? That's a storyline now. He got a victory over him. He can use that. Does it elevate Punk? Because remember, Seth said as long as he was, he would never be champion as long as he was around. Well, now he's not going to be around. Okay. Does Braun Breaker rise to the occasion? With Heyman's backing or blessing. He's done it with a big guy before. We've seen it, and be the mouthpiece. Does Seth come back really jealous the fact that he's, that Paul gets behind somebody else and they kind of forget him? I could see Punk and Roman against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker at SummerSlam, maybe. Because we knew Roman was going to come back at some point, leading towards Survivor Series and clashes of groups. And I'd throw you one more. What happens to the Money in the Bank contract? Does he hold it? Do they elevate it into another triple threat with Braun, Bronson, and LA Knight for it? Or do they have another Money in the Bank match at SummerSlam for the contract? I mean, those are the options, but those are intriguing if they would really happen.
Yeah, you mentioned
that's some things I see that could happen.
You mentioned the different roads they could go down, and there's different, there's long-term, where does this go? Long-term storytelling, which I think could be a lot of really good stuff. Short-term is what they got to worry about because we're 3 weeks out from SummerSlam, the arguably second biggest, maybe third biggest pay-per-view of the entire year besides WrestleMania.
A two-night affair now, so it's a big deal.
I got to say SummerSlam's probably in their mind ranked number 2 when it comes to their events they have throughout the year. And then also you mentioned where they go with Money in the Bank as well. Excuse me. So, and you mentioned Punk. That is where things were going. And Roman was where things were going. And you mentioned it right. If Punk skyrockets, that's the story. Punk gets to where he needed to be, and Seth comes back and says, you would have never gotten there if I was still here. And then that adds more layers to what's already a great rivalry. So I love that as well. The Money in the Bank thing, I thought about that last night, Don. I think they could do something where at SummerSlam they have a new Money in the Bank winner. Because my 10-year-old, bless his heart.
They make Seth surrender it for something.
Yep. And my 10-year-old yesterday, we were sitting having dinner, and he's doing the math. He's like, Dad, you get that contract for a year. He's like, how long's an ACL? And I'm like, I'm guessing 9 months. I'm guessing maybe a year, but it's some
of these
different.
Some of these guys come back incredibly faster because maybe it could time up within a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I'm like, yeah, you're right. He's probably not going to. And I doubt they give a special stipulation saying you can have this when you come back. I don't think that's going to happen, and you'll have 2 Money in the Bank winners and all those kind of things as well. Big picture for Seth Rollins, though. It's unfortunate and frustrating because I just talked about it a second ago. This was the biggest push he's ever gotten, and he's gotten some really good pushes. Cashed in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, probably the best cash-in arguably of all time. He's a Grand Slam winner, maybe a 2-time Grand Slam winner. I think the last time I talked to him 2 or 3 years ago, I mentioned him being a Grand Slam winner in a question, and he quickly corrected me with 2-time Grand Slam winner. So, 2-time. So, that's what I think the frustrating thing is, but knowing that guy a little bit, knowing what we know about him, and then me knowing him a little bit, there's not a person that's going to bust his ass to get back quicker than Seth Rollins. So, and I think at the end of it all, it could make him even more popular and more beloved and more over, if you will, whether it's as a heel or as a face as ever before.
I go back to when Triple H made his return at Madison Square Garden after his quad injury. Good old JR remarked that he never heard a building be louder than that moment. And returns are always great, and his will be great. It's just when and where. But you hit it on the head, Matt. We're going into SummerSlam with no Liv, no Kevin Owens, no Seth, maybe no Dom. And even though he's not a major player, but he's part of a faction that's got all the gold.
Yeah.
And how they're going to pivot and make it work. I think the big Scotsman's going to have
Drew
something
McIntyre
to say about all this. Drew always has an opinion, and they're great. I think he's tied up in all this too because he's going to say, "I'm a deserving guy too." So
I don't want to
guy that could play.
I don't want to get down too many rabbit holes, but you brought up Drew.
No.
Or no. Are you? But how are you? I mean, Jelly Roll's probably the biggest thing that happened on Saturday Night's Main Event. And when that all went down, and people that are just watching and might not know, Jelly Roll is going to tag with Randy Orton at SummerSlam against Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. And when I first heard it, and I like Jelly Roll, my kids love his music. I like his music. I was kind of annoyed by it. I rolled my eyes, and that was several days ago. And then I loved what they did on Friday, and I loved what they did on Saturday. And he took a bump. He took a bump. I was in it, and now I'm invested. I want to see it. Your thoughts on the gimmick matches, because SummerSlam, WrestleMania always have those kind of gimmick matches where you see somebody from mainstream come in and wrestle. I'm intrigued by this. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
How excited did we get initially when Bad Bunny showed up, and we're like, oh, Jesus. And then he goes and performs.
Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit, this guy can go. Whatever training he's got. And then obviously Jelly Roll, who's a good story, in his own right.
Yeah.
Is willing to actively participate and make it look real. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll be interested.
He's a huge wrestling fan, and he's in great shape. So, last one on Seth before we move on. I thought about this morning, and I know it's not what it is, but what happens tonight if Seth comes out on on Raw and says he's got a torn ACL and he's going to be on the shelf for a while, and he leaves, but he doesn't relinquish the Money in the Bank? And then all of a sudden later in the night, he cashes in, and this whole thing's a joke. This whole thing is just fantastic storytelling, and he cashes in Money in the Bank.
If we get worked.
Yeah,
so
I don't. Now, mind you, I don't. But that's deep layered because every report has him hurt. I mean, Triple H in the post yesterday for Evolution was like they're going to see a. But I mean, so it's not what it is. I'm not saying that's what it is. I know that's not what it is. But Don, that would be some pretty in-depth storytelling if they pulled something like that off.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But it'd be a hell of a work. I'd almost be disappointed because it seemed like it was a lot of swerving for when he can cash in at any time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he need to do that work to cash in?
But it would be one of the biggest works ever. It's not what it.
No
I
doubt.
don't think it is. I'm not saying it is, but just popped in my head. A thought popped in my head today. I'm like, man, what if this was just the ultimate work, and everyone in the world thinks that he's got a torn ACL, and then all of a sudden at the end of the night he walks out with the champion, doing that laugh and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens.
On this, Matt. Yeah, I'll conclude on this, Matt, in terms of Rollins. Tonight's going to tell us a lot because we're only a couple weeks away from Slam. So whatever's going to be done needs to be triggered tonight.
Yeah. No, it's real quick. It's real quick. The turnaround. Yeah. And that's what's crazy about a busy weekend like this, Don, and especially on the WWE's thing. WWE had NXT on Saturday. They had Saturday Night's Main Event, and then they had an awesome Evolution. Those are 3 big shows on a weekend that's 3 weekends away from SummerSlam. I mean, they are really putting their product out there. They have a lot to give. They got a lot of storylines. They got a lot of stars. It does a good job of getting as many of their people out in the spotlight as possible. But it's a lot on these wrestlers. It really is. There was a wrestler in Evolution. I can't think of her name, but she wrestled on Saturday night. She wrestled on Saturday nights and on NXT on Sunday. On Saturday, she wrestled on SmackDown on Friday, NXT on Saturday, and Evolution on Sunday. That's wild. So, anyways, let's talk about Evolution before we get to some minor league promotion they call AEW. Go ahead, Donnie.
Can I comment on one?
Yeah.
I want to give Bill Goldberg his flowers because I've never been a big Goldberg fan, even though during the WCW era it captured us all. NBC kind of screwed him at the end of the night because, they went off the air supposedly with 3 minutes to go, and then they come back from commercial break at 1 minute to 10, only to see Goldberg's speech get cut off. And I think the night was probably screwed up because how long matches were going to go. Goldberg's match that night with Gunther was his 3rd longest in his career.
That's crazy.
16 minutes. So was that match meant to go that long? I don't know. But I thought, considering that we probably figured Bill wasn't going to win, they pulled a pretty good match off with a great champion in Gunther to make it work. And then they kind of screwed him at the end. So it's all I wanted to say on it. But
no, I agree.
There's an end of an era with a 58-year-old guy out there, my age.
Yeah. Gosh, that's crazy. Can you do that? Well, let's toss you in the ring with Gunther. There's a lot of head coaches that would love to watch you get your butt kicked by Gunther.
If they paid me $1 million,
Yeah.
I'm all in.
I'll agree. I'll tell you that on that subject, I quit watching because I thought the show was over. It was that close to 10 o'clock that I was like, what a weird, funky ending. And then I started seeing on social media little snippets of his retirement. I'm not a Goldberg guy. I'll tell you right now, Owen Freeman, who's a big wrestling fan as well, myself, and Tom Kakert communicate and text during wrestling events. He was a big Goldberg guy, and Kakert loves Goldberg. And I just I never got into it. I was never a big Goldberg guy. So it wasn't that big a deal to me, but hats off. I think that was one of his best matches he's ever given us, which is kind of probably why I'm not a big Goldberg fan. It's because you just mentioned his retirement match was the third longest of his career. That really doesn't do a ton to me. All right, Evolution. The ladies took center stage. So 7 years ago, they did Evolution, a pay-per-view for just the women. And I thought they could do it every year. And maybe they do it every year, but they hadn't done another one until this weekend. Your thoughts on the headline? We could talk about Evolution for another half hour. Your thoughts on Evolution and the biggest take that you took from that show?
I think clearly is Naomi's cash in a really, really good match with Io and Rhea. I mean, they as a whole, that show was really damn good. Really good. I mean, and then Io and Rhea take care of the house down. Naomi gets her cash in, which, I wasn't really I'm not really a Naomi fan, but what the way they put this on her, she performed. I mean, she was terrific. And so that would probably be the number one.
I like the cash in. Everybody's cash in is great. I mean, anytime that happens, people love it. They cheer. I like Naomi in general. I don't like the heel turn. I think it's been a little weird. I think it's been a little much. Some people love it. I haven't loved it. I think the cash in was awesome. I'm curious to see, how like sometimes the cash in is great, but the championship reign isn't, or the chase is great, even if it's not a cash in, to get to be a champion, and then being able to be a champion and sustaining isn't there. I don't think she sustains as a champion for very long. There's so many talented women. I don't get excited to say, oh, Naomi's the champion and she's facing this person at this pay-per-view, and then the next one this one, and then the next one this one. I think that was about the cash in and the chase. And she's got it now. She's got a nice storyline going on with Jade. I'm kind of getting tired of it. Bianca gets involved in that and all those kind of things. But good on her. I don't see it as a long-time championship reign. What I took from Evolution, that's obviously the first thing, is for me is I just took the depth of the rosters when it comes to the women's division. And it's crazy because, Donnie, you love the Attitude Era. I love the Attitude Era. The matches then and the matches now. I'll tell you what, Trish Stratus at whatever years old she is, and Tiffany Stratton brought the house down. They did fantastic. Yeah. The three-way match between Becky and Bailey and your girl from Ireland, Lyra. Was outstanding. Like, I mean, it was, in fact, it was so good. Tom Kakert texted our group right afterwards and said, might be the best PLE of the year. And that's a huge statement in saying. So I think what I took out of it was, yes, Naomi's a big thing. Blake Monroe, newly acquired Blake Monroe, had a heel turn. That was interesting. So you had a cash in, you had a heel turn, you had great matches, you had good storytelling. I think from top to bottom, it was a really good event. And I think the WWE needed it because I think Saturday night's main event, because of the injury, because of the ending botch, kind of fell lame a little bit. So I think the ladies kind of picked up where the men left off and did a great job on Sunday night.
Well, and what's ironic, Matt, and this will be my comment on it all, Evolution kind of came together. When they had the first one several years ago, there was a pretty long build-up to it. They didn't really give much build-up to Evolution 2. It was, a couple of months ago, we're hearing, like, we're going to have this. And, and then they feature the ladies on a weekend where we have a ton of wrestling where this could kind of just get buried, and it may have been the gem of the weekend. So it's kind of interesting how it all came about, but the ladies certainly performed really well. And then we got a heel turn with Blake Monroe, so throw that in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I don't know what the numbers were. I had heard that the attendance and the ticket sales for Evolution wasn't great, because when you think about it, you're putting all of that into Atlanta. You're putting a SmackDown in there. You're putting a Saturday Night's Main Event. You're putting a Evolution. That's a lot of wrestling for one place. So I don't know. I mean, it looked good on TV, but I don't know if it was a sellout and all that kind of stuff. But I thought they did a fantastic job. And then you had injuries too. You talked about Liv getting hurt. They had to deviate from the plan, because I think you were going to get Nikki Bella versus Liv Morgan before the injury happened to Liv and stuff. So, I think they had to kind of, scramble a little bit. But I thought they did an amazing job, and I'm good with it being a yearly event. Like I think it should be. But with that being said, do you want to talk about AEW, Tommy or Donnie? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, here's the problem. If we talk about it, we're not going to be able to talk as long as the damn event went.
So I don't want to start with the negative, but AEW held their All In Texas. It's their biggest show of the year.
It's their equivalent to WWE's WrestleMania.
100%.
For the most part.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was in Texas at a big stadium. I think they got 25,000. I'm wondering what the numbers are going to be. We'll find out today and all that kind of stuff.
Which a year ago I attended it over in London, and we had, and you're in London, so you got a unique crowd. We were over 60, 70,000. So then now we go to do this, and we have low numbers. Yeah.
And there was another one where was that the biggest one? I thought like the last 3 years it's kind of gone down. But anyways, I'm not here to bash AEW. It was almost 6 hours. You can't do you can't get people's attention for that long. Like, they're trying to shorten Major League Baseball games because they think 3.5 hour games are too long. They want them to be 2:45, 3 hours. NFL is the same thing.
Why do you think WWE took SummerSlam and WrestleMania and made it 2 nights?
Yeah.
Because it's just overload. You just get fogged out after a while. I'd be really challenged to stay with it for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then have your main event at the end.
Now, mind you, they're going to say, hey, this is our biggest event. You're all in anyways, no pun intended. But I just wish they would have shortened it up. So I don't want to get into everything. What's your biggest take from All In Texas?
It has to be their main event, and that the fact that the belt has been wrestled away from Mox, and where does he disappear now? And the belt's been released. The match was, not everybody's into Texas death matches, but I mean, it was pretty. I've watched it. It was pretty damn engaging, considering it was 6 hours later. But now it's like, what's the future hold? Now that a lot of characters came back, returns, and now it's like, okay, this is a significant pivot moment for them, because now where do we go? So I think that's what I take away from it.
No, and Don, I give you a hard time all the time because I like storytelling. Yes, professional wrestling is fun to watch athletically and all those kind of things, but I love storytelling. They tied in a lot. Swerve coming out, helping that long rivalry, kind of putting a bow on that, or continuing that a little bit with a obviously now more of a friendship than a heated rivalry.
Him and Hangman had such a history, like you said, storytelling, which was good.
And so you have Daniel Bryan finally come back, or Bryan Danielson, my fault.
And that was a year ago that they did all the things to him. Tied it back in. That was good.
So they tied that back in. Your boy Darby Allin, who you've been so excited to, but you were right. You called like he's going to be So Darby Allin went and climbed Mount Everest, and like they had the video of him on top saying, "Now I'm coming back down." And then they had him come down Sting-like from the. So I enjoyed the storytelling. You're right, Don. Like, Texas death matches are dicey. I mean, they really, really are. Like, yes, a lot of people love them. I'm fine with them. That's not a match I'm going to let my kids watch. Like, I mean, it gets to a point when you're taking a fork and there's a bed of nails and there's blood everywhere. Like, it's a lot, but I don't mind it. I'm not saying that in a negative way for me. I enjoyed it, but like, that's kind of the difference between WWE, who's got Jelly Roll out there, and then you have AEW, where you have a bed of nails and you have the things that they had in that match and the choking and all that kind of stuff. It's two different promotions, and I think that was glaringly obvious this weekend.
I think you're right, and I'll saying it's as close as to ECW as we get in the modern day. What do you want family friendly programming, which a little more WWE is, or do you want something that's a little more edgy? And I enjoy them both, but most people are either one direction or the other, and that's fine. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about I got a T-shirt that says just enjoy wrestling. Well, it's great that you got this plethora of wrestling to choose from in this day and age. We really do.
Yeah.
And we saw it on display this weekend.
There's no bigger critic to AEW than me, but I root for them, and nobody believes that. Like, Caesar gets cranky with me too. And I want them to do well. It's just they haven't done well. And I can be critical of WWE. Like, I thought they dropped the ball this weekend several times with things. And I thought SmackDown was boring this weekend. But that's a whole different conversation. Excuse me. For a different day and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, Donnie. Well, we're 3 weeks from SummerSlam, a 2-day event. We'll have you on back for that again to chat about that. We need to get you on here and talk about some umpiring, refereeing stuff. I don't know if you knew this, and I don't want to get into it, but I did a little rant a couple weeks ago about umpiring, and it was viewed by a lot of people, and a lot of people coming to the defense of umpires. My kid in general, but umpires like yourself. So it's funny that people always come to the umpire's aid unless they're mad at them. And then they're the first person to bash them as well. So
I look forward to it. In fact, ironically, Matt, I was just out in Philly this last weekend at an umpire camp, developing guys and guys that want to advance. But at the end of the day, we talk about we have to have a little bit of backbone to do what we're doing. I think it's important that we treat umpires fairly, but we do sign up for this. It's just maybe the younger umpire doesn't know what they're completely signing up for. Yeah. So there's a balance, and we could add on to that. But you know what? We're in an unfortunate time that we just don't have enough people doing it. So when we shouldn't be in the business of running somebody out of the business because we need them. That's the best way I can describe it.
When people complain this, and we won't get into too much, I'll leave it at this. When people complain on Friday nights because their football games are getting moved to Thursday nights because they don't have enough referees, and baseball games are getting moved to, there's no more double headers in the Western Big Six, which people loved, but they don't have enough umpires. There's a reason for that. You people are the reason, because nobody wants to do it anymore. Don's not sitting in this luxurious house right now because of being an umpire. It's because he's the most powerful person at Augustana College. No, that's not the case either. So,
but that's a big reach.
No, it's because of your lovely wife is why.
That's right. You're right. So, no, I appreciate the time, Matt. This has been great conversation. And like you said, in a few weeks, we'll do it again.
I love it. SummerSlam right around the corner. Donnie, I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right, Don Umland, talk a little wrestling here on a Monday on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. It was a big weekend. It was a fun weekend. Raw tonight. We'll hear more and learn much more about Seth Rollins throughout the day, I think, today, right here. But we wish the Davenport native the best of luck and a speedy recovery. One of the biggest names in the industry, having what looks to be a serious injury this past weekend on Saturday night's main event. On national TV on NBC. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need Mobile Party Experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile Party Experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your Mobile Party Experience today. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Monday, July 14th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a fun 2 hours. Yeah, we filled this show up today. That's for sure. It's been a lot of fun. If you're just joining us, we spent the first hour going through the top 10 high school football rivalries in Illinois in the Quad City area. So we looked at the Western Big Six, the old Lincoln Trail, Three Rivers, even Olympic Conference, if you go back that far. And we ranked them out. We had a panel of 7 experts, Greg Armstrong, Mitch Stormer, myself, Nick Bull, Dan Pearson, Brian Stocking, and John Marks all voted, and we tabulated the votes, and we came up with our top 10 high school football rivalries. Not rivalries in general, but when it comes to just football itself. A lot of fun. Greg Armstrong joined me. We went through those. Go check that out if you missed it. Weigh in. Let us know what we missed, what we didn't miss. If we got something too high, too low, we'd love the feedback. So let us have it, if you will. Also, we caught up with Cayden Weaver, a senior at Davenport North. He had a fantastic moment this past weekend, a walk-off winner for Davenport North to beat North Scott. So caught up with him. The Wildcats play tonight in Cedar Falls. We wish them the best of luck. Hopefully they can get a victory and move on to Wednesday night sub-state championship game. So go check out Cayden if you missed it, a fantastic young man. And then we talked a little wrestling. Davenport's Seth Rollins, and I'm now reading reports 4 to 6 months out. So we'll know a little bit more throughout the next couple days. But nationwide, Saturday night's main event, Seth Rollins injured his knee. You knew something was wrong. So that takes him out of action for some time. So we talked a little pro wrestling with our good friend Don Umland, with SummerSlam now less than 3 weeks away. On tomorrow's show, efforting to catch up with Will Carius, playing professional basketball and doing a fantastic job. Former Pleasant Valley standout, Western Illinois standout, Monmouth standout. So I'm hoping to catch up with him. Also hoping to catch up with my good friend Jake Brend. He was out at Big 12 Media Days last week. We'd love to catch up with him on the Cyclones and all those kind of things. So that and much more tomorrow. Wednesday will be Steamwheeler Wednesday. And later on this week, we're going to count down the best football rivalries in our area over in Iowa as well. So that should be a lot of fun as well. Don't forget, the football season right around the corner. We'll have much more on that, of course, over the next couple weeks. I will let you know we are taking a vacation. The Randazzo family is going on a vacation, so there will be a little bit of time over the next couple weeks that we will not have shows. We'll kind of pinpoint that and let you know exactly when that is coming up in just a little bit. But a full week this week and a lot to get through this week on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I want to thank our amazing sponsors for allowing us to
start a
I don't know why we're
podcast in
doing
your
our
basement.
start again. Let's try this. There it is. We want to thank our amazing sponsors for allowing us to do this show each and every day right here in the Quad Cities. Godfather's Pizza, Rafferty Funeral Home, Hungry Hobo, Quad City Steamwheelers, Snoop's, Queso, Chips and Salsa, and a whole bunch more. And, of course, Mobile Party Experience. We'll have much more with them. We're going to have lunch with Tim O'Neill sometime this week as well. On much more with them as we build our sponsorship and our partnership with football season coming right around the corner as well. Thank you so much for watching Off the Air on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. We will see you guys back here tomorrow.